I'm Bill Gross. I'm the LA probate expert. I've got Patricia.Castillo
That's
aquí
right.
de Downey, California.
Yes.
Y
How's
también
everybody
tenemos
doing
Gustavo
today?
Segura, un oficial de préstamos.
How you doing?
That's my Spanish, ladies and gentlemen. I'm done now.
Pretty good, Bill. Pretty good.
Not bad for Gringo, right?
Not bad. Yes.
So here we are, HomeBuyers seminar every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. We record this, but we also live stream it on Facebook and YouTube and all that good stuff. And so Patricia was just saying, what? She had a seller who wanted this, and she's
Right.
the seller, the market is this.
Yes. So just, interesting day today. I'm working with several buyers that are looking to get pre-qualified, and it's taking, maybe 2 or 3 borrowers to get on the application so that we can increase their purchase price. So had a buyer consultation today. And right now I just got off the phone with a seller that is trying to net out a certain amount because they have plans for that money, which I completely understand. When you're selling a home, it's like you're one shot to capitalize on the, the market, on the equity, and use that money for your priorities. So she's got a list of priorities, but with the market, as you mentioned, the last 2 years, we were here. Now we're kind of settling down here. We can't ask for something that's not there. And that's what happens, when you see some of these homes that are having a 5% price reduction. It's something that we really have to look at as realtors, because of course we want to provide the best service and give everybody what they're asking for, especially sellers. But they're conditioned to seeing the numbers that were coming in within the last, month. Within the last year and 2 years. And so it's taken them a while to catch up to where we're actually at today. And so even with rates coming down, today we're at 6.29% for a 30-year. Even with the rates coming down, the prices have also started to come down a bit. So it's, it's not something that we're not trying to discourage people from selling their home, but we also have to price it at the market, value that we're seeing today. Not in January and not last year. We have to price it with what we think it's going to sell, because we want the sale to be effective and to sell. That's the goal, right? Of selling your home, is to sell it.
Right. Well, I think sellers for the last 2 years would see what a house sold for and just assume they'd get 5% more, and eventually they would. And now, I don't know necessarily you have to cut your price. Are you seeing that when you see a closed sale? Are you seeing the next sale below that? I'm not seeing that so much as they're just not getting the more that they want.
Yeah, there's definitely not, I would say we're not seeing the same, I've seen multiple offers, but not necessarily 50,000 over. I've seen a few price reductions and some, maybe 2 or 3 offers on a property. We're not getting 10 to 15. So that's kind of what I'm seeing right now. I have a home here that I've been keeping an eye on in Downey, because I had a client that wanted to move out to this area, but it's been on the market now for almost 3 months.
In Downey?
Yes, in Downey.
Is that the Beverly Hills of the 562?
Yes. And it's, they started off really high in price, in my opinion. And so now I've seen a price reduction of about 10,000. But that still may not bring in the buyers, especially right now. You just have to keep an eye on it and see what the activity level is. I've seen them, the realtor doing open houses, and I'm not seeing a lot of traction. So could be the marketing, it could be the price. I think the price is still a little higher, and it's also the location on the street where it's at. So that might be it too, because there's other homes in Downey that have sold within 2 to 3 weeks of going live.
Right. Well, as I tell people, we don't get to choose what the property sells for. We get to set the price, and the market either agrees with us or disagrees with it, as evidenced by by offers, but we don't get to decide what it sells for. We just get to decide what we start the marketing at.
Right.
That's hard for customers to appreciate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the other challenge, which what I try to do is always, I'm not telling what the market is. I try to show them what the market is telling them what the price is.
Mhm. Right. So it's showing all of the data in their specific neighborhood of where the subject property is located at, and showing them the numbers and what the activity level is there and what the interest level is. Because if they can buy a home and let's say, last year you were getting a home, maybe in not the neighborhood that you really desired, but that was more in line with the price because you knew you had to come in with at least 50,000 over asking. So you're making an offer on a property that maybe you could have found today in an area that you really want to live in and not pay, as much. But that's what we saw the last 2 years. Buyers had to offer more than they really wanted to, or was in their budget, but they were really pulling out of, their savings, their 401k to get into the property because there was a lot of demand, especially with the pandemic.
Right. Well, so what do you see, true or false, Gustavo? Every buyer wants to think they're getting a good deal.
Yeah, true. In every sense of the world, price of the house, rate, location, and that everybody's buying at the low so that they later on can sell on the high end, right? So definitely, I'm seeing the same thing here where depending on the price point, depending on the interest level, they're either going right away or they are coming down, whether it's 25, 50,000. One of them just went into escrow. It came down about $100,000. So, that's a big chunk, so I know, as interest rates went up, it took a lot of the purchasing power out and people were just, they were concerned about the payment. So it's normal. It totally makes sense. As it's starting to come down now, some people are coming in, but if it's going on the, it's trending downward, then I think the natural inclination of a lot of people is like, well, let's see how low it goes, right? And that's the hard part. When is that going to happen, and when's the right time?
That's why it's really important that we talk to people that have to do something, not would like to. We all would like to buy $20 bills for $18.
Mm-hmm.
And every seller would like to sell their $20 bills for $22.
Right.
And that's the gap. But when somebody has to buy a house, they'll pay $20. And somebody has to sell a house, they'll accept $20.
Yeah.
So our job is to, advise buyers where they're at, tell them what the market is. In the history of real estate, prices will come down annually once in 2008 and 2009. Some people want to believe that's happening upcoming. I don't see that based on what's in front of us. It might, but based on the facts on the ground today. But if you're going to wait, my sense is you're going to wait for a long time because prices, and I know people waited in 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15.
Right.
They're still waiting, and it's doubled since they started waiting process.
Yeah. And, prices could change, in 60, 90 days, right? And then it just kind of comes back up again because as the rate comes down,
Correct.
more people are going to come in and then it's going to put upward pressure on that. So
Correct.
I think that could be the case. And then you're going to continue that upward home value, right? So maybe it does kind of flatten out a little bit, or maybe it does come out depending on the county, it does come down, but then it's always going to continue upward. Also on the rates, I was taking a look at the rates today as far as historical. If I go back, 20, 25 years, the rates that were in the 4s, 3.5 to 4.5, somewhere around there, that wasn't until recent, like 2012, 13, 14, 15, so, and then all of a sudden we had that drop of the pandemic, then we went up, and I think now it's going to come back down to around those 4 to 5%, a more typical scenario.
So the good news is, I think last week we had a really nice drop in interest rates.
Yeah.
And the rates have stayed there despite all the drama on the stock market. So buyers who are out looking for property today are benefiting from a nice rate drop. Have you seen, are you getting customers repriced into the new market? And they gotta be happy. Right? If you were a month ago, you were at 7.25, and today you're probably about 6.25, right?
Yeah, it's been about an interest 1 point drop. So yeah, that's exactly right. And we've given some purchasing power back into the buyer, so they feel good about that. Or just being able to save them some more money. Next week we have the November inflation report coming out, and if that continues to be in a good positive number, then we're going to continue to see those inflation rates come down, and mortgage rates will follow after that.
Right. So that's been exciting news, and I haven't seen much of that reported. The news is always so excited to talk about housing crashes and bubbles.
Yeah.
Very little about good news, I think, for buyers that rates are coming down. I saw another piece of good news on the market that that the number of delistings was an all-time high, meaning sellers aren't in a position where they have to sell.
Mhm.
Bad news is not cutting prices. Good news is they're just pulling off the market. But I think for a buyer, they need to understand that means the housing market is healthy, not unhealthy, right? On one hand, we all like to think, oh, it'd be great to buy when the market's crashing, but you don't know if it's crashing, it's going to continue to crash afterwards. But it looks to me like the market's fairly healthy right now. What do you see?
Yeah, I think so too. I think it's definitely healthy. I think that, we got the highest levels of equity in houses. A lot of people have a lot of equity in there. I think some of them are like, hey, you know what? Can I cash that in, right? Can I sell it? And like you said, they don't have to sell. We've seen a lot of people going out of California, right? Being able to go somewhere else, being able to hold on to that equity, buy that house, and then be able to still have some money left over.
Right.
So it's not a foreclosures coming into the market. It's not people being, defaulting on their loan. It's not that. It's just like you said, people are on and off. They're testing the water, seeing what happens. If they don't get that offer, then they're going to hold on to it because they know they got $500,000, $600,000, $800,000 in equity in their house.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the other listing I'm working on right now is actually one of my cousins. She's, unfortunately getting a divorce, but she can't afford to live in the home herself. So she's decided to sell it, and they need some repairs. So I said, let's get a handyman in here and get a couple of estimates on what I think would be more of the key things to repair. Really cosmetic, a lot of painting and things like that. But like you said, in some instances, sellers that are not in an urgent situation to sell, they may just be testing the market right now to see if their property is going to sell at the price they want. And if it doesn't, then they just pull it off the market because they're not in that urgent scenario where they have to sell. Now, with the client I'm working with right now, which happens to be my cousin, she is in a urgency to sell scenario. So we're going to get the home ready and then get it listed. And it also depends on the area. This area happens to be labeled as like one of the hot markets right now. So I don't see any problem in selling her home.
Good.
And it just depends on, what your situation is and where the home is located. Because that's one of the things that we look at is the location. And our research that we do is going to show us how soon do we think this home might sell and what's the best price to list it at. And so once we have all that information, we can go ahead and guide our clients to that decision. So it's an interesting time right now. I think buyers have a good opportunity to get into a home, and sellers have a good opportunity to sell their home and still at a price that is going to be favorable to them because prices have gone up over the last 2 years. And so it's still a good time to either sell or to buy. So Gustavo, I'm going to be sending you some documents after this call because I literally had a buyer consultation in my car today.
No problem. Thank you.
Yeah. And these are renters, renters that are tired of paying high rent.
Yeah.
They, continue to get the increase notice every year. And they're like, we're sick of this. We can be paying, our own mortgage. And so, it's getting them out of that renting scenario. So I'm excited for these new clients that I'm working with because they're renters getting out of the renting scenario, going into what it's going to look like to purchase their own home.
Yeah.
Nice.
And this market has cycles, right? That's why they call it the buyer's market. It's a seller's market, right? So,
Right.
But traditionally, if we look at the value of the homes, they've continued to go up. So, there's going to be sometimes just like the interest rate's going to go up or down, depending on when you need to sell, if you need to sell or just want to sell. So, like Bill said, everybody wants to make sure that they get a great deal, right? But unfortunately, someone's situation may not be, give them the option to wait for that right opportunity. A lot of people were selling, 6 months ago and a year ago at record prices. But now as the rate continues to go up, it slows down. So the people that didn't sell, it's like, why didn't you sell back then? They were
Right.
probably waiting for this thing to keep on going up. So
Yes.
timing is tough to do. Impossible.
Right. Well, you want to be part of a healthy market. I think that's the thing
Yeah.
at the end of the day that works for all of us
Mhm.
is that the market be healthy. Unless you're a flipper, if you're buying a house to live in, you're going to be there for 5 years or so. You want a healthy market when it's time for you to leave. You don't want it to be frothy on the way up because it could be frothy on the way down as well.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and even on the lending side, as things cooled off a little bit, lenders and Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac as well, they started to look at what they can do to help out. Any kind of adjustments that they can do, any kind of new loan programs. The 2-1 buy down came into play, right? So some of these things came in order to be able to help because they understand that the rate has gone up 4% and the beginning of the year. So they see these issues and they're trying to address them. So there's a lot more products that are coming in to help out. And then eventually, as it continues to go down, then there's going to be new products or a refinance that takes place. So it's going to be, different cycles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one of the things in knowing what you qualify for, it's not just getting that pre-approval, but really looking at what you're buying. So if you're buying a single family property, that's going to be a different pre-approval than, let's say you're getting maybe a 2 or 3 unit or 4 unit property, because 1 to 4 units is considered residential. 5 and over would be multifamily or commercial. So if you're looking at maybe a condominium, that's going to also, the HOA dues are going to impact your approval because that's adding basically another debt to your monthly debt output every month. So
Yeah.
looking at that is also something that's important because you might think, well, I qualified for 500. I'm just going to go look at condos instead. But you also have to look at what the expense is for a condo and look at the HOA dues and take that into consideration. That could possibly lower your pre-approval because now you're adding the HOA dues as a monthly debt that wasn't there before.
Correct. And a lot of people will ask me, well, how long is this pre-approval good for? I'm like, well, if nothing changes, we got time.
Mhm.
But, if you come back and you tell me, now you're looking at condos, as you stated, well, what's the HOA fee? A home that has solar panels and they're still leasing them out, it wasn't bought out. So do you have an additional payment there? A home that is in a fire zone and a flood zone, they have more expensive insurance. I was just looking at a traditional, $80 to $100 monthly insurance cost, but now you're at $200 or $300, So all those things, as you stated, increases the monthly payment, your overall responsibility. So that means it's going to decrease your purchasing power a little bit. It could be $20,000, $25,000, $30,000.
Mm-hmm.
Those solar panels, man, there's no free lunch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's right.
It's free. You get free energy, you get free this, free that.
Yeah.
It's all free until it doesn't work. Then you've got a problem.
Yeah. So those are the kind of things that you want to make sure. And of course, everybody, maybe they take on a new position, or they change from being a W-2 employee. All of a sudden they go to self-employed. They open up that business they wanted to. So all these little things affect your pre-approval, so whenever you have those, before you make those changes, big purchases, work changes, any of those things, definitely want to make sure you're consistently talking to your originator, loan originator, to make sure that you're heading in the right direction without affecting your pre-approval.
Yeah, or revising it, right? Because if you're thinking of getting out of the single family purchase and you're looking at maybe condos or townhomes, then it's revisiting that pre-approval and getting it refreshed to reflect that the potential for HOA. So would you normally estimate a general number, like maybe $300 for an HOA fee?
Yeah, so I usually do that. I do about $250 to $300 depending on where they're buying. and then I said, okay, you know, I think you're gonna be around this and 350. I'm doing one right now where it's 350. They're looking down here in Orange County in a certain area, and I'm like, I think you're gonna have a high HOA fee on those. So I just overstated a little bit. I like to be a little bit more conservative on that side, and then from there we can just kind of see what kind of properties they're getting at. And sure enough, they even pulled one where the HOA fee was $404. So
Wow.
that just eats right into their payment pre-approval. And also too, some lenders, not all of them, but some of them will price out a condo differently than a single family home. So the rate could be affected. I have wholesale partners right now that they're pricing in the same way, but sometimes they do go ahead and affect the pricing as well, the property type. Manufactured home, of course, definitely does. But when it comes to condo to a single family home, there might be some that's still affected.
Yeah, and some HOAs might even have two, right?
Mhm.
Some buildings may have more than one HOA. They may have,
A
two
county.
HOAs. Mhm.
Yeah, they may have a county that's still, you know, there's a bond out there that they're still collecting on. So yeah.
Yeah, so it's important to look at the loan approval, decide what you're getting. If you happen to change your mind and switch from either condo purchase to single family or vice versa,
Yeah.
then definitely let's look at getting your loan approval
Yeah,
updated.
communicate back. Don't just run with it, because then that could create some issues.
Communication is the key.
Yeah,
Like in any
exactly.
business, any successful business, communication is the key.
Yeah, I got an email real quick. I got an email this morning. It was like 7 a.m. It was a lead, and I was like, hey, I saw you online, blah blah blah. I need to get a loan quote. Here's my loan documents, you know. And then I was like, this is great. I replied back to him. I go, I need to get on the phone with you. I need to talk at least for 5 minutes. I want to know what you're thinking. Are you buying a condo, a single family home? Is it an investment? You know, some of the things that they forget to mention in an email, because they just think, I already talked to someone else. Here's my documents, you know, what can you do for me? And it's like, well, let me find out what you're doing, you know. Are you buying an investment? Is it a second home? What is the, you know, what is it that you're trying to gain out of it? That way we're all on the same page and we can work towards that.
Right. Yeah,
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah.
preparation.
Yes.
Not preparation age, just preparation.
Yeah,
Yes.
preparation.
Yeah. Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So what else? What else is new or different in the market you've seen? Anything else?
Well-
Go ahead, Gustavo.
Well, I was going to say, one of the key things that is getting more and more traction has been those non-QM loans. You know, basically, it's not going through Fannie and Freddie. It's not your traditional guideline. It's not your traditional conforming, conventional loan or your FHA loan. And that's because self-employed borrowers, you know, they're a business owner. So we're seeing a lot more of bank statement loans coming in, profit and loss. Basically, it sounds a little bit more of a statement, bank statement loan approach. There's buyers on paper. It looks like they don't make enough because they have major deductions going on. And in this market, where they need to make sure that we have enough income, we're looking at these non-QM loans in order to help them qualify to buy that home. And that's probably the only way they're going to be able to, unless they lower their deductions and increase their income on paper. So we take a look at monthly statements, the last 12 months of bank statements. We take a look at their deposits in order to come up with a qualifying income. So we're seeing a lot more of that in the last 3 months, 4 months, as the rate continues to go up.
Yeah, one thing that I heard of recently was with ITIN borrowers. I have several people that have approached me about purchasing a home. They don't have a social security number, but they have an ITIN number. So they have income, they have good credit, they want to buy a home. So before, the requirement with lenders was normally, because it's a higher risk borrower, they would require like 20 to 30% as a down payment. And as of last week, it was changed to, it actually decreased to about 10%. So now, that's even facilitating that process for ITIN borrowers, because they are willing and able to, apply for a loan, and they have money for a down payment, they have money for closing costs, they just don't have the typical, purchasing scenario for loan qualification, like somebody that does have a social security number. So now those requirements have been lessened from 20 to 30% down to 10%. So that's also helping that market to be able to qualify, since they do have some form of down payment to get into a property.
Yeah. Lenders are taking a look at the different scenarios and seeing, how they can help out, how can they be flexible on it. And they know that they're taking on their risk level. So they take a look at their risk tolerance as a company and said, okay, if we do this loan, where is this loan going to end up? Who are we going to sell it to? Are we just going to keep it in-house? Is it, there's an investor out there that's going to take this loan on. And if there is a market for it, then they'll go ahead and they'll work at getting, those loans moving. So there's always changes that, lenders are always looking for more loans, but
Yes.
they're definitely being not like 2008, where it was just a little bit more of careless guidelines happening.
Right, loosey-goosey.
Yeah, they're still looking at that risk tolerance and saying, okay, is this an acceptable tolerance now?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think it's something that's always being revisited, right? And so now they've finally made that change where they've lowered that requirement.
Yeah.
How about those increased mortgage limits?
What again?
The increased mortgage limits, the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac increase.
Oh, the limits, the loan
Yes.
limits.
That's exciting news, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. In our counties here in, LA, Orange County, it's $1,089,000, I believe it is.
Whew.
So definitely it went up over 100,000. And that's perfect. I mean, they're looking at these at the home value and appreciations, they're looking at these year over year, and they're saying, hey, you know what, we need to help the market as well. Avoid those jumbo rates, and they keep on doing. So that's been a big help too for a lot of different counties.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's something that, again, it's like they're going to revisit what's going to help the communities be able to attain the homeownership goal and get into a home. So maybe it's raising the loan limits. Now it's reducing the down payment requirement from 20 to 30% to 10%. So, I think that's why I said earlier, I think buyers have a good opportunity right now to get into a home. There's more borrowing that's being allowed, and also more flexibility in the lending requirements.
Nice. Okay, well, I think we've covered a lot of the hot topics.
I think so.
What's coming up? What are you working on these days? You have a house you're selling that would open house this weekend? What are we doing?
Yes. So in Bell, 6221 Paula Avenue in Bell, that's for sale, and have had a lot of interest. That's where I'm getting these buyers that are coming in that live in that area that are looking to see what their possibility is of owning a home, getting out of the rental market. So that's exciting. That was one of my appointments I had earlier today. So it's a busy time. Gustavo and I have been working on several different clients that we've been following up on and getting their documentation so that we can see what they qualify for.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're definitely going through that process.
Well, let's keep working on it. And then are you working the rest of the year, or are you off for the rest of the year?
Come on, Bill. What kind of question is that?
Working.
No,
We're working. We're
No,
working.
working.
We're working hard. We're pushing through. We're penetrating. We are dedicated and committed and working throughout the end of the year.
There are a lot of, it's interesting because I talked to real estate agents who tell me the market's slow. I said, well, it is for you because you think it's slow. I've been busy. I took a listing this week. I'm fighting to get a second listing contract signed tomorrow. I got an offer. We countered to a seller. I got another offer waiting for the seller to respond to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just working my normal 40 hours a week pace, but it seems like all the other agents are on vacation. They're all gone. I called, don't respond for 2 days.
Yeah. Because they're out having, pan dulce and champurrado somewhere, lighting up they're attending a Christmas tree lighting somewhere.
Yeah.
Tamales. I think it's corn tamales this time of year, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That
This
too.
is, this is a time where, yeah, a lot of real estate agents check out. They might be traveling. If they're able to take time off, they do that because they can. But then come January, you're trying to build that momentum again. So I'm continuing with my momentum, and I know the rest of us are too on this call. And, we're working through the end of the year. A lot of people need our help right now, and, we're there to service that market.
For the record, I'm working the rest of the year. So I'm not working Christmas Day. I'm going to do business planning that day. And I'm not Jewish. I took off a lot of holidays. No judgment, but family time, I take off the weekends and spend time with my family, and I work during the week. I'll continue that through the rest of the year. So
Sure.
I'm available. If you need to sell a house, give me a call. Don't go anywhere.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, great. Well, look, Patricia, someone get a hold of you to talk about real estate, buying or selling in the 562 area or beyond. How are they get a hold of you?
So I'm at 323-365-9909.
Great. And Gustavo, so want to get pre-approved for a loan, they can talk to Patricia, of course, and she'll refer them to you. But they want to talk to you directly, how they get a hold of you?
Yeah, directly at 714-334-4563. Answer all the questions and really give them an education on, what the process looks like.
Fantastic. I'm Bill Gross, the LA probate expert. I'm Bill Gross, EXP and social media. We host this home buying seminar every Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern. Put on our social medias as well. If you have questions, put it in the chat box, reach out to us. We're here to help you. It's really done for you. We enjoy talking to each other, but really it's done for you, the people out there who want to buy or sell property. If we can help you, give us a call. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much.
Thank you,
guys.
everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.